Hello everyone, my name's Colin Foreman. I'm the Deputy Editor of MEED, and it's my pleasure to be in this session this afternoon. It's the last session, but I think I'm pretty safe in saying we've saved the best till last, because anybody that follows construction and the construction market in the Middle East will know that Saudi Arabia presents, without question, the most exciting opportunity for work in the next 10 years. The scale of the projects is really quite mind-blowing. I've been reporting on the region for more than a decade, nearly 2 decades, and I've not seen anything of this scale being planned before. And these projects are now starting to move into the construction phase with work on site, and we're very lucky today to be joined by 3 of the projects and also some technology providers to talk about what's happening and give us an update on the projects and how really there's a lot of new things being tried on these projects and a lot of progress coming through already. So I will pass over to our various speakers to introduce themselves. So Ahmed, if you would like to go first, just to tell us a little about yourself and the project you're working on. And just remember to unmute, Ahmed.
First of all, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Colin, for inviting us to this session. And first, my name is Ahmed Naji. I'm a project executive director working for NEOM, handling the infrastructure and utility projects. As you know, NEOM is one of the accelerated human progress reports. We are seeing it as economic engine for the whole region and even the world. It's one of our pillar within our vision in 2030, and we are working diligently on day to day to deliver this project within the coming maximum 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. I think just to add a little bit of journalistic license to that, when it was launched, the Crown Prince said that the project was $500 billion, didn't he? Which is
yes,
far and away the largest project we've ever seen in the region.
Oh yes, and the area we are constructing this project is something like 500 million square meter. It's a huge area, and this is one of our challenges in getting these projects running all at the same time along this vast area, really.
Yeah. If I could pass over to you, Andy, who's been on a helicopter this morning looking at the site.
Yeah, the job has its perks. It's wonderful. I'm delighted to be with you today. Thank you. So I'm Andy Tyson. I'm the Executive Director for Construction, which is essentially all our project and construction management. My role is to lead the delivery team on site for the physical delivery of the Red Sea development project. The project, in a nutshell, is we've been given 28,000 square kilometres of land on the west coast of Saudi Arabia. That includes an area of around 2,000 square metres in our lagoon, where we have around 90 islands, and that is the focus of our phase 1 work right now. We're looking at essentially the project is all about exquisite luxury regenerative barefoot tourism. A lot of adjectives in there, but they all have very valid meaning. We're looking at opening 16 hotels by the end of 2023, along with our airport, a town for around 14,000 inhabitants who will operate the hotels and the facilities, and all the infrastructure that goes with it. We started on site just over 2 years ago. I've been with the company now for 3 years. The company's been in existence around 4 or more years. And we now have around about 900 people in the business. We have 200 and something people here on site, and around 8,000 workers. So we're well underway with the first phase of our project.
Okay, thank you. David.
Yeah, my name's David Watkins. I'm the Chief Project Delivery Officer at Amala. Amala sits also on the west coast. We have NEOM in the north, and we have the Red Sea project down in the south. So we sit on a strip of land within the MBS Reserve, which is a national reserve park, and we are a luxury tourist development that sits on a number of different master plan sites. One of the differentiators of Amala is the coastal strip is mountainous right down to the sea. So we have a beautiful topography and setting to sort of have our sun, sea, sand and lifestyle, hospitality, arts and culture. And we have a bit of a wellness focus on some of our master plans as well. Like the other giga projects, we're here to support the 2030 vision. We're at a little bit of an earlier stage. Our first master plan at Triple Bay, which is down in the south of our area, we have about 1,000 workers currently on site in building the workers' accommodation and facilities. Our airport has also started, and we've started our bulk earthworks on our Triple Bay master plan. So, like everybody else on the board here, very interesting and privileged to be in this part of the world for these exciting projects.
Thank you, David. And Sharif?
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Pleased to be with you today on this panel. As always, I'm part of the Global Strategy and Innovation at Oracle Construction and Engineering Global Business Unit, and my role in this part of the world is leading strategic digital transformations and innovation. I'm part of a small team that it works after Oracle Industries Innovation Lab. I come from construction management background. What I've been doing for a living for the past 18 years is all about enterprise project management, enablements for smart city, and specialized EPCs as well. When I'm not working, I'm always climbing a mountain. Thanks.
Thank you, Sharif. I think the place to start with these, I think there's two things that really stand out with these projects in Saudi Arabia at the moment. One is the scale, and the other one is that they're brand new projects, effectively greenfield developments with new companies developing them. And so it's really been a blank canvas and an opportunity to do new things and do things differently. How's that been a challenge, and how's that been an opportunity? Maybe Ahmed, if you'd like to start with that question.
Yes, I think this is a good start, Colin. As we say, NEOM is a big area, and one of the challenges we are also trying to resolve within our project management here is how to control or how to manage these scattered projects around us. So we are the topography of this area is not normal. There is a big mountains around us. There is also a shore area. We are also very close to some residential area, and this creates some challenges to us. And also one of our goal within NEOM that we will not change the topography of this area more than like 4%. So a lot of our project might create some development under the ground. So this will imply and require a lot of new challenges and innovative idea on getting new iconical assets and design and way of constructing these kind of asset and especially the infrastructure. This is one of the challenges that we are facing this area.
And is that something across all the projects? Is that something that's really ingrained in the sort of raison d'etre of these projects and the companies, that to do things differently, try new things?
Exactly. Some of the challenges we are facing here is really how to facilitate the mobilization of the construction team, equipment, contractors along the whole NEOM land. This creates a lot of challenges, at least at the beginning, to me and my team as infrastructure team, looking for to start all the enabling work to facilitate the coming massive construction projects. So we are at this stage now. And we start already building some of these infrastructure like base camp, construction villages, some of the logistical network, mostly for water, for some of the construction roads, and even we have started looking for alternatives of recycling a lot of the material we have around us. And all this has been tested, and also we have implemented some of these ideas already within our sectors in NEOM and with our contractors. And as we speak, we managed to do some initiative, new ideas, especially in recycling material as one of our sustainability approach to minimize our effect and our our effect to the environment and to the topography within NEOM land.
If we could come to sustainability in a little bit, I think that's an entire topic in itself. But Andy, did you experience similar challenges at the Red Sea, just getting mobilized and getting the project up and running?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm not sure we can any longer call ourselves a startup company. We've been in existence now for around 4 years or so. But 3 years ago when I joined, I was number 67 on the payroll list, and now we're heading towards 1,000 people. So of course we've built the Red Sea Development Company from scratch. We've brought in whatever specialists, whatever consultants we needed, whatever smart people we needed to build our systems and processes and procedures. We brought people in from all walks of life to fill all the different roles that we need to generate a fully operating development business. And it's worked very well. I think in terms of doing things differently, many of us are new to Saudi Arabia. I've been in the Middle East for 17 years, but all of my time prior to coming here 3 years ago was in the UAE. So we all brought new things, we all brought new ideas. One of my previous projects was the Atlantis project in Dubai, which was a construction management project. We did a lot of offsite manufacturing in that project. So, I and others who worked in the UAE and some of them on that project have brought those ideas and those concepts with us. We're also working very hard to optimize the use of the Saudi construction market, but because of what we're doing, how big it is, how complex it is, how special it is, we're also having to go outside Saudi Arabia, to the GCC, to Europe, to the rest of the world to bring in the expertise and the capability that we need to deliver this amazing project.
I think that's an interesting point. David, maybe you could give some insight in this. I mean, these are vast schemes just in the planning stage. It must be hugely complex and must involve teams from all around the world involved in sort of design and planning work. How difficult is that to coordinate?
Yeah, look, I think, with any greenfield site, you have a lot of these challenges. If you think about, as a typical developer in many countries, you would probably say that your infrastructure costs as part of your development costs would be, 20% a quarter. Here we're talking sort of 40 and 50% in some cases just to get the basic infrastructure in place. I think the planning and organisation and bringing in that expertise is also about, how do we not just do a whole lot of temporary works and expend capital on temporary works that don't get incorporated into the permanent design. So a lot of what we're looking at is how do we utilise the permanent facilities. Our future staff camp for the operation of the resorts is going to house, as a city, basically housing 14,000 people in order to operate these resorts. So rather than building a whole lot of temporary facilities, how do we accelerate these permanent facilities and utilise them earlier so that we use the capital on the permanent works rather than large amounts of capital on temporary works as we tend to do in these sort of remote locations. How do we capitalise on that? And again, I've been fortunate to work in many countries around the world, and and see different techniques from developing countries, from very developed countries. And, you know, a lot of that expertise sits somewhere in the world. You know, when you're operating in places like Japan, it's very low labour, heavy technology focused. When we operate in the Middle East, it's very labour focused and tended to be lower technology. And I think the opportunity for all of us is bringing that higher level of technology to sort of applying these what are relatively low rise for us, but complex projects and complex supply chains, particularly you know, with the COVID world that we're living in at the moment, which has had some impacts on our supply chains.
Yeah, Sharif, you've obviously got an insight on the technology side. How much of an opportunity do you see what's going on in Saudi Arabia at the moment for technology to play a role?
Well, it first was a challenge rather than an opportunity because working in such complex projects, or let's call it smart city kind of an approach, it's not anymore fitting with a project management solution as typically happened in the past. So when you consider that volume and that vast size of projects, you want to think of how we support, or how the opportunity lies across different verticals within each of these smart city projects. So when you consider NEOM, for example, every business unit in NEOM is a company inside the company. There are different and myriad number of projects here and there, from utilities, from healthcare, from hospitality, from typical construction. So understanding the technology and getting yourself in a competitive landscape of IT itself, that was the first challenge. The second is, and I would say this is the greatest opportunity that we've been seeing in Saudi, especially for the past 3 years, is innovation. In a lot of forums, conferences, and you name it, we've been always talking about the role of AI, IoT, and a lot of other technologies here and there, but we've never had that use case that it's implemented within the region itself. Today, we do. So I would consider all of these projects for NEOM, for Red Sea Development Company, and for Amala is a true opportunity for the digital transformation and understanding the project not only during the capital construction of it, but also pre-construction. I've myself worked with Red Sea Development for almost a couple of years before a capital construction happened on site. And also, when you look at the smart city approach, there is a lot to do post the construction itself. And we, as a technology provider, we're challenged not only to cover what happens during the project, but also post the project. And this is where we have that broader opportunity within the industry and the market to support all these big initiatives.
And of course, technology is not just IT. There's a slightly different question coming from Riyad Basabis from Amana. So I guess, Andy, this might be one for you to answer. He's asking, what are your thoughts about offsite construction as a reliable delivery tool for developments, and how does it compare with the traditional model?
Okay, offsite manufacture is it's not new. But I think it's relatively new to Saudi Arabia, certainly on the scale that we're looking at. So we started this base camp where I'm sitting right now. We built this 2.5 years ago as an off-site manufactured facility. We built it with a contractor, a Saudi contractor, Al Arabi, with their supplier New Fab out of Riyadh. We manufactured all the units complete, brought them down here and built them within about 3 months. We moved in. You know, it brings the reason. There's many reasons why we want to go off-site manufacture, and not only the base camp. We built our 10,000-man construction village out of 1,800 individual modular pieces. Project that Riyadh is very close to. Saudi Amana have 4 contracts with us. Again, they're producing something like 1,800 modular precast concrete boxes. for residential and the hotel, our Turtle Bay Hotel, business hotel project. Using off-site manufacture it allows us to minimize the impact of the site. So where we are is in an extremely high value environmental location. You know, we have islands, we have coral, I was privileged to see my first ever dugong last Thursday when I was on a boat on a survey dive. We have the most amazing landscape here that we need to preserve. Now, doing things off-site means we have fewer people on site, we have fewer materials on site, we have less waste, less risk of pollution, etc., etc. Off-site manufacturing is all about making decisions early. It's about deciding the product that you want, the size, the scale, the materiality of it, getting the design done quickly, pressing the button on those things, and whilst you're preparing your site, you're already building the building in sectional parts. And it does bring great advantages, you know, when it runs like clockwork and we get things on time. So it can save us time, it saves us prelims on site, the number of people on site, etc., etc. So it does have huge advantages. Now, some of the things that you're going to see from the Red Sea project coming up will be, I think, kind of never been done before. Some of the products that we'll be manufacturing off-site will be amazing to look at, and on a scale of off-site manufacture that I think may not have been done previously. So it's kind of watch this space for some announcements before long. But we have, as an example, 2 hotel projects in our lagoon, 30 kilometers offshore, which are beautiful timber framed buildings. Those timber buildings are being manufactured in Switzerland, and they are being shipped here starting in July. We're going to start seeing the first delivery of those products coming from Switzerland. And again, it's because we want something special, we want something that is unique, but also we want to minimize the amount of on-site work that we do in our very sensitive, high-value environment.
How much of a challenge is that for you as a developer? One of the traditional complaints in the region is that people start work on sites and then there's a lot of change. I'm assuming if you're doing off-site manufacturing, you've got to get your design in place, and change can't happen later on once on site.
Yeah, correct. And I say it is a big part of successful off-site manufacture is making your decisions early. So for the work that Saudi Oman are doing for us, it was essentially design and build. So we set the parameters, we gave specifications, the full project brief, and then it was design and build. And the smarts that they and companies like them can bring to off-site manufacturing comes from their experience about how best things work and fit together. For our hospitality projects, we're going a construction management route. So we're breaking things down into individual packages, going to specialist contractors who can give us the product that we want, when we want, in the manner that we want. And the responsibility for coordination of all those pieces then sits with us. We essentially are the construction manager. We're providing project construction management, commercial management, etc., design management. So we then carry the responsibility of bringing all those various component parts together, stitching it together, making it work. So you're absolutely right. Design changes, the further down the process you go with design changes, the bigger the impact, whether it's time, cost, or whatever.
Okay. Are you looking at this sort of option as well, David, at Amala?
Yeah, look, I think Andy's touched on a lot of the sort of the key points around sort of modular and prefabricated, you know, early decisions and locking down the design to give the fabrication team as much time as possible. I think the other part of obviously is in the Middle East here, we're dealing with a workforce that hasn't got that trade background and skill set that occurs in, you know, European countries and things like that. So, quality control and getting the quality of product to site, as well as the items that Andy's touched on as well. And although, generally when you look at the cost of modular, you might pay a slight premium for it in the manufacturing costs and in the build costs. When you get it to site, the time savings, the quality control, and those other aspects, particularly in the hospitality sector, where we're dealing with high net worth individuals, we're dealing with tourists who are coming into the kingdom for the first time. That luxury level of the market there's an expectation there to have that high level of quality and to have something amazing, and certainly the off-site fabrication, the quality control helps that as well. While obviously giving opportunities for Saudi companies as well, and I'm sure across all the giga projects there's elements where that specialist skill set is not just something that is offshore. It's something that the local Saudi companies are getting involved in as well, because all our projects run over a number of years. They're going to be progressively handed over in the next 5 to 10 years. So we have quite a unique opportunity to sort of also upskill the local market. So whereas what we're manufacturing today overseas for delivery in the next 1 or 2 years, where we want to be definitely in the next 3, 4, 5 years is making sure a bigger portion of that is done onshore in the kingdom, and the skill sets are developed here at the same time. And I think it's incumbent on all of us to make sure that also occurs in the modular prefabricated world.
Yeah, and there's also a sort of an environmental sustainability angle as well, isn't there? There's a lot less on-site waste and pollution and what have you. And we've had a question, Ahmed, you brought up sustainability very early on, and there's a question here asking about if you could elaborate on sustainable solutions that you've successfully managed to implement in your work on site so far. Are there any things you could highlight?
Yeah, the environmental issue within all these projects under BIF are really challenging us from the environmental perspective big time. So environment issues becomes really very critical, extremely critical in all our projects. So one of the challenges we are facing is how to make use of the existing material. Let's say if you are building something and you have to cut and refill and we have to find ways to reuse this material. For example, reusing the debris from all the assets around us to start building our project. This is a challenge, and also reusing of the asphalt and reusing even of the vegetation, dry vegetation around us. Try to minimize really the effect on all these kind of waste to the environment within NEOM specifically is really a big challenge. So in every project we have, usually we conduct a session to find ways and means to recycle these materials. So far we managed really to use a lot of material within the infrastructure projects, like the debris we get from old buildings, like the asphalt from old roads, because we will minimize the roads in NEOM to almost zero, and also some of the recycled material like all the infrastructure. So recycling material as one of the challenges to us to maintain the sustainability is one of our challenges. So far, we are handling this very well, and I hope we will continue the same. And this will require a lot of innovative ways, and we are working with our contractors through our technical services, even through our some of the laboratories around us to come up with new ideas And as we speak, we have initiated actually three initiatives within NEOM. We implement them with our contractor. Some of the contractor, they declare that this is the first time, they are like 40, 50 years in this business, and this is the first time they are implementing these kind of innovative ideas. And so far we were successful, very successful in this.
Ahmed, where's this drive for sustainability coming from? It's clearly very important and something that's being given great attention. What's the real driving force behind it?
The real driving force behind this is the PIF direction, the direction of our sponsor, the direction of all these projects coming from our top management, that environment is something that we have to handle carefully, extremely carefully, and this is what we are doing. Even if when it comes to the environment sector within, for example, NEOM, we have a very competent scientist and group of people who have very wide experience in all over the world, and they're really chasing everything we are doing in projects. And of course, we as project team, we are in belief of this. That's why we all really handling the environment, and it becomes part of our culture, really, to be extremely careful when it comes to changing the topography or the ground, or even sometimes relocating some of the trees or plantation around us. Okay. So it becomes like a culture within the company, really.
And we've got a question. I think anybody who feels would like to answer this. The question is, inevitably with hotel resort development, there is an environmental cost. What measures are in place to mitigate this cost during construction and after once open to tourists? So I guess there's a construction element and then a post-construction element there.
Maybe I can answer. It's a really good question. Let me start with the way the project started before I joined the company. So in 2017 and 2018, the Red Sea Development Company engaged marine biologists, environmental scientists, and a team of specialists from King Abdullah University of Science and Technology here in Saudi Arabia, almost in advance of having master planners, engineers, and architects on the project. And together we formed a team which carried out a marine environmental spatial planning exercise. So in essence, what happened was that over a year-long period, I think there were 15 or 16 baseline studies undertaken of the lagoon, the 2,000 square kilometre lagoon, which is part of our primary phase 1 development site. And that 2,000 square kilometres, was split into 32,000 individual boxes, squares. Each of those squares was checked and analysed and studied, desktop studies, in-field studies, and given a conservation value. This was all put into a computer model, a computer simulation, and it drove out, the outcome was essentially that every single box, every single island was categorised in line with its environmental value. And we ended up with four categories. Set aside, which is do not touch, don't go there. Top environmental category, high environmental category, and the rest was potential development sites. Now, the outcome of that was that of the 91, 92 islands that exist in the Red Sea, we're currently building on 5. At most, we're going to build on 21 islands. So that means 75% of the whole of the Red Sea lagoon will not be developed. And of those 90 islands, 9 of them will be put aside as special conservation areas for zero development, no touch. They are super high value. They're critically endangered. Hawksbill turtles, green turtles. We have dugongs. We have coral in abundance. So the very beginning of our project, we set the parameters that we are not going to destroy the very reason for coming here, and that is the beauty and the nature in which we're going to develop. I can tell you now, we've started our construction works on the sites, and construction's a messy business, right? There's no getting away from it. It is a messy business, but we have to manage and control it. We have right now 76 pieces of high-tech monitoring equipment on the project right now, and more will come. We have much more work to move forward with. We have 32 monitoring buoys, permanent monitoring buoys in the water. They measure temperature and turbidity and a whole range of things in the water to make sure that the works that we do not damage the environment. They do not damage the environment. Anything where we do have an interface with the environment, for example, coral, we have to get to the islands, and the islands here are generally in very shallow waters. So we've undertaken an incredible number of ground truthing surveys and studies to make sure that our access to the islands and the locations where we plan to build villas on the island or in the water have the minimal impact on coral and on the marine life or on the island life. But there's always going to be areas where you touch nature. There's no getting away from it. So we've for several months had specialist teams relocating areas of coral. We've just signed up, and this is all done with the environmental scientists alongside. In addition to relocating areas of coral, we're also establishing coral nurseries. Again, this is using global specialisms from around the world. We've just signed a contract for a trial for, I think it's 180 square meters, maybe it's 1,800 square meters of nursery, coral nursery. So we can take pieces of coral, we can grow it, and then we can enhance the environment by replanting that coral in new areas and establishing new ecosystems. We have, sorry, I'll let somebody else speak in a minute, but we have an aspiration to not just be sustainable, but to be regenerative, to actually enhance the environment and to leave it better than when we came here by preserving areas, by setting aside areas from fishing, overfishing, damage, by replanting coral, by coral nurseries, by planting mangroves. We're looking at, there are studies being done to see how we can grow additional seagrass in the area. The studies also determined that whilst the area could essentially take 10 million tourists a year, we decided we were going to limit it to 1 million tourists a year, which sounds a lot, but it's a huge area, and we're just at stage one. But by taking 10% of the number of tourists that you actually could bring here, again, we're setting those standards of truly sustainable and regenerative tourism.
And I think you know, the sustainability side of things from the guest experience. I think you know, the guests are looking for resorts and developments that have been built in a sustainable way, so that when they arrive at these places, they don't feel that they're contributing to environmental destruction or that has often occurred in the past in other countries who haven't focused as much on the sustainability in the environment. And certainly from all of our experience, the earliest days that we've come into the kingdom, from the very highest levels and indeed the 2030 vision, you know, has a large focus on environmental protection, sustainability. So that support from the very top all the way down means that you know, the way we work and how we work has a big focus on the environment, and therefore when the guest do arrive in the hospitality sector, when the industries do arrive in the industrial sector, then they know that these developments have been built in a sustainable way. Does that give us more tourists into Saudi Arabia rather than other areas of the world that are more established that may not be developed in these ways? So it's certainly a very, very important pillar of all the giga projects and all the projects in Saudi.
Yeah, I think responsible tourism is definitely something that's becoming more and more important in the future.
And also, as Andy briefly touched on, the improvement of the environment. You know, the Red Sea is a beautiful location, but it'd be a stretch to call it pristine. You know, the issues that a lot of environments have, overfishing, some of the coral degradation, these sorts of things. So having tourism that can participate in the regeneration of these areas and turning them back in time and improving them is certainly a part of the sort of the destination experience for a lot of what we're working on.
If I may add, part of the sustainability we are always considering in our project are using 100% renewable energy. So this is one of our challenges also in this project. So it becomes like, in addition to the conservation of environment, onshore and offshore, on the mountains and everything, we have also to build our projects to utilize renewable energy, either from PV, solar system, or wind, or we are looking for new even innovation in getting energy from hydrogen, and all these things are part of our challenges, and we always discuss it with our designer and with our developer, and we succeeded so far to start implementing these things around us, and we start seeing these renewable means of power generation around us in NEOM, and it is one of our main deliverable in our project, that the project within NEOM should be 100% dependence on the renewable energy.
And I'm guessing also with the hydrogen plant and things, you'll even be exporting renewable energy as well.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Sharif, we've got a question here about digital twins. It's how far does the digital twins approach to stimulate your how much are they being used, and how will they assist the implementation of projects? Would you be able to give some insight into that?
Yeah, certainly. So digital twin has been coming a long way, especially over the past few years. A great thing that we have amongst all the PIF accounts or businesses is a solid basis or a solid ground for starting or initiating a digital twin strategy. Because the first thing when you hear about digital twin, what it pops up in mind is, yeah, I have a building information modeling implementation, or I have such a capability within any organization, and extend that from design during the construction to use BIM probably as the source of truth during the capital construction. Digital twin is much broader than that. What we're doing with one of the PIF companies currently is bringing the AI, the artificial intelligence technology, in spotting or reality capturing the project construction progress as it's happening, and then bring that reality capture of every single step of the construction project, be it utilities, construction, infrastructure, roads, tunnels, etc., and compare, overlay that with the original model or the design of the projects. And the result is obvious here. Spotting any quality variations between the actual versus the design itself. If you think of bringing also the supply chain management angle into the digital twin, okay, so if you see all the material, if you see all the on-site manufacturing of systems and logistics of that particular project, bring that into the digital twin in one interface so that you understand material readiness and accordingly plan for the construction workers on site and the equipment that becomes as part of the digital twin. And we are really excited to work in such a large project with one of the companies that they are represented here today on this particular panel. Think of all of this with your project management backend system as well. So if I'm live streaming the actual reality of the construction, and I'm bringing all these updates for project managers from contractor, from project owner, and the consultant on a one transparent interface, that will bring payments, contractual disputes, etc., etc., into a resolution. And we quite often see a lot of challenges between different collaborators in the project regarding the construction and the progress, etc., etc. So that's something that we're very excited about, and I would say watch this space for a lot of updates coming up before end of this year.
From you guys that are working on the developer side, how much is technology part of your part of the way you manage projects now compared to things you've worked on in the past?
Look, I think there's still a lot of room for improvement. You know, the technology's there. There's a lot of disparate sets of software that we use as tools in different areas of the business, whether it's programming, whether it's the project management, whether it's the document control. And what we're sort of starting to see is that convergence where there's companies coming in and working in that digital twin environment from the first day. I mean, we're gathering data, all those sorts of things that relate into even prefabrication and sustainable design, because we're minimising waste, developing, you know, the live model as it progresses through construction, and then using it as an operational tool. You know, at the end of the day, linking into the smart destination, smart city environment. You know, so that technology is still, you know, mainly aspirational, I think would be a polite way to say it, throughout our sector. You know, we've all seen lots of different studies in the construction sector have been sort of laggards behind manufacturing, but it is improving, and it is improving at a much faster rate. And also the contractors, because as a developer, we can have all the best technology in the world. But if our contractors are still working in a paper environment, or they're still working in a hard copy environment, then, you know, we need to bring them along on that journey as well to really sort of leverage the digital technology or the digital construction as best we can. So yeah, look, it's getting better, and the opportunity that we all have here is to drive the whole industry here in the kingdom. You know, the kingdom here, we have a very young Saudi population, very technology savvy, very technology focused, and I'm sure it's the same for all of us. All my young team, my young Saudi team, you know, are big drivers and big pushes for innovation in the sector, which is fantastic to see as well.
How have you seen construction in Saudi Arabia change? It must be changing at quite a pace at the moment, I would think.
Yeah, actually, when I compare what's I'm in this field for the last almost 30 years, and I've been working in constructing refineries and other industrial facility, in addition to other residential area like Neom here. So I think in what I see now, that we are heavily using the technology. Especially when it comes to the or the engineering part and the planning part of the project. That facilitates a lot and saves us a lot of time and money. For example, we are using drones heavily here in Neom due to the massive size of Neom land. We found that having a topo survey with conventional way is going to take really long time. but utilizing this piece of technology, which is drone, and of course drone doesn't work alone, it works with other software at the background of this. It really saves us a lot of time in getting the required engineering survey and in engineering analysis, which really facilitate a lot of engineering conclusion and leading us to accelerate really the design stage of project. This is one of the aspects. One of the other challenges also we are discussing with some of our technology provider is creating like a room or a means of monitoring and controlling all these projects around us all over this NEOM land from one area, which could be like a project monitoring room. So we are working with some of our technology provider trying to visualize how we could do this in addition to using the PIM and a lot of cameras carried out with the engineers and technician and sort of data collectors. Instead of sending the engineers and the inspector to the site, they could do it virtually. And this proves, in some project, it proves that we could do them really. So I think the challenge is that we will use a lot of these technology as we go. And what I have seen in the last 30 years, especially in the last 10 years, let's say, of using the 3D modeling and some laser scanning and all this technology, we start using it in this because it becomes really very cost effective. Before it used to be very expensive, but now these days this kind of technology becomes handy and available and very cost effective to be used, especially during the design stage. Of course, there are some other technology to be used during the construction stage, like the 3D printing, as we said, modular buildings, and this required a lot of I think we are going to benefit a lot from this technology. Especially in the factory and out of site construction activity, and in addition to the monitoring and control of project progress. There is a lot to say in this area, but I'm sure we are all heavily trying to use this because it will minimize really the cost of the project and the duration of the construction with a high quality of the project.
In terms of collaboration, is there much talk between the different PIF development companies on sort of lessons learned, approaches, things that have worked, things haven't worked? Is there much exchange of information between you all?
I think that is there, but on a personal level. And we could take it really from this summit here. We could initiate something from our side to have like sort of committee, technical committee, or even project management committee to see how we can really build on the lesson learned from each other.
I think PIF, who are the sponsors of a lot of our projects, are certainly trying to push towards, the giga projects, sharing that information, sharing that knowledge. A lot of it's obviously proprietary, and some of it can't be shared, but it's certainly lessons learned. I know from, particularly from Andy and myself, now that Amala is also part of the Red Sea company, we're getting a lot more sharing of lessons learned and information, leveraging each other's knowledge, supply chain knowledge, technology knowledge, and so that has improved a lot, certainly over the past year or so. But PIF are aware of it. We had I think we had a get together a few months ago on modular construction, for example. And PIF are sort of trying to sort of drive this across the giga projects, from as a funder, and it's their money. So where these opportunities can be used to save some of that CapEx expenditure through lessons learned, then definitely we sure will be using it.
And Ahmed, having worked on projects in Saudi Arabia and engaged in the market for a long time, what do you expect the impact of these projects is going to be on the rest of the construction sector in Saudi Arabia? Is everyone else going to have to step up a level?
Absolutely, absolutely. The way we see it that it is really a very strong economic engine to the whole industrial society within Saudi Arabia and in the world. I don't see it only. It will be beyond even Saudi Arabia, and of course we have a very strong manufacturing capability, infrastructure in all our industrial cities in Jubail, Yanbu, in all other industrial city within our kingdom. Yet this will enrich also the economy of the Gulf area, and even in the whole Middle East area, and even some of the countries around us, because the massive size of these projects requires a lot of resources. And I think in the coming 2-3 years you will see big booming in the market for material. And in NEOM we start initiating some kind of procurement agreement for to reserve some of the material and to reserve some of the production line for some of the material, like steel bars, like pipes, like cement, and I expect in the coming 2-3 years this will really enrich the whole market within our country, in addition to the GCC, big time.
Is that reserving production, is that also locking in price? We've only got a few minutes and we could probably talk about this for another hour, but there seems to be a concern that there's going to be price escalation over the next couple of years.
For sure, it's all depends on it. It is the supply and demand law, and I think the challenge here is going to be between us as client and the provider, the material provider. For sure, we will try to challenge them, and they will challenge us. And for sure, both of us, we have to come to an agreement that that we have to get the material locally, internationally, and this is something I can see coming soon. And it will be really a big challenge, because we have faced similar situation on 2006 when there was a lot of industrial factories and refineries, and from Aramco side, Sabic, a lot of industrial project in Yanbu and Jubail area. At that time, we noticed that there was a big demand in the market, so usually the demand reflected into a higher price. But at the end, we get everything's done, and our infrastructure industrial infrastructure within Saudi Arabia and within the GCC was strong enough to really to supply us with all required material.
Yeah, and I think it's important, you've mentioned them a couple of times there, Jubail and Yanbu, doing very large scale programs of work is not something new to Saudi Arabia, although these projects that you're talking about are new. It's not a new phenomenon for Saudi Arabia.
Right. Yeah, and I think we have the required infrastructure within our industry within Saudi Arabia, that they can supply us with all required material. But what we will need to bring to this formula is the technology. So we need to bring the technology into these kind of industry, so we can come up with the optimum solution with the optimum price for all these massive projects start coming really to the market this year and the coming maybe 3, 4, 5 years.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed. Unfortunately, we've come up out of time. Not surprisingly, there was a lot to talk about, and I think we could probably carry on for the rest of the evening, which is probably a little bit too much. We need to wrap up here. But I think at the beginning I said there was two things that I think stand out in Saudi Arabia with the giga projects. One is the scale, and the other one is just the sort of the blank canvas and the ability to try new things and innovation. I think perhaps I misspoke there. I think I should have also included sustainability. I think you've all quite clearly said that sustainability is really at the core of all these things, which is quite reassuring for long-term projects. And then I think as well, some of the sort of the collaboration and technology that's coming through as well, I think is also playing an important role. And also the one to look out for is just the impact on the demand for services and materials going forward. So I think there's a lot to look out for, and also a lot of work coming through. So it's all nice problems to have for the construction sector over the next few years. That is the end of the summit. So I'd like to thank particularly the panelists that have joined me just for this session, but thank you to all the panelists that have joined throughout the day, and thank you to all the people that have logged in and viewed, people that have asked questions, and everyone that's been involved. It's been a fantastic day and lots of really valuable discussion, and I hope it's been useful to everybody. I just need to say thank you to our partners and sponsors. So our gold partner is Oracle Construction and Engineering, and you heard quite a bit about what Oracle's doing from Sharif earlier, which is a lot of interesting stuff that's really involved in some of the big schemes that are going on in the region at the moment. And then our silver partners, which is Autodesk, Honeywell Building Technologies, Procore, and our bronze partners, which is Amana Group, Dakin, and Polypipe, and our construction partner, which is Orascom. And with that, I'd like to say thank you once again to everybody, and again, thank you to the panelists, and thank you for your insights. It's been fascinating to hear about what's going on in Saudi Arabia at the moment, and I'm sure we'll catch up again and hear about more progress that's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.